This video is to show you how to make a foldable to understand the equation of a line. We have been graphing and looking at lines and seeing what their slope was between 2 points, how steep the line was. Every equation of a line is in the form y equals mx plus b. Teachers, you have a thing to print, and it will print out like this. It will print one page with this on it, with the y equals mx plus b. It will have a second page that has some information about the equation. And what you need to do is you need to take that, and before you print it, take the top page and mark it where students are to cut. They're not going, when they make this foldable, they're going to cut it only along the dotted lines that you make, or you can show this video and pause it to the students and show them where they're going to cut the page. Also, another thing to note when you are printing these is make sure you're printing them front and back. So the front should look like this, and the back should look like this. And yes, it's upside down. There's a reason for that. So once you have taken this, you may want to pause this video, and you want to make sure that the students cut along those dotted lines. So here's the dotted lines that they're going to cut alongside of, and then this foldable is going to help them understand the y equals mx plus b format for an equation of a line in what we call slope intercept form that can be used to state the slope, to state the y-intercept, which we'll talk about what that is, and also to graph the line. Once they have the foldable, they're gonna first, they can cut it first, and then they can fold each flap down. I'm gonna do that and then come back to the video. Okay, I've now folded mine. So I've folded it, and each part of the equation, there is explanations when you lift the tab. So here we have y. And the y is a value of the equation. It's called the dependent variable. And the second value in the ordered pair is a y. So when we're looking at the ordered pairs on the line, y represents the dependent variable, or the second value in each of those ordered pairs. And y can change along the line, and that's why we call it a variable, something that can change. The next is the equals, and you will read its tab, and it says glue this flap down. That is why you need a glue stick. So I am going to take the video to the side for a second, and you won't see much until I glue my flap down. Alright, I'm back. I've glued my flap down for equals because that never is going to change. It's going to be equals, equals, equals at all times. This is going to be the y, the value of the equation, dependent variable, the second value in the ordered pair. M represents the slope. So M is the slope. It's going to be a number when you see an actual problem. Remember that slope is the rise over the run, or with the tables we did, the change in y over the change in x. So I'm going to zoom in on this. As you can see here on this line, the slope is marked. The rise is 3 and the run is 4, and it's going downhill. So the slope of the line in your picture is -3/4. But always remember, m is the slope. If the line is graphed, rise over run, or with a table, it's change in y over change in x. X is also a variable, something that changes. So if you lift that flap up and we don't glue it down, the only one we glued down was the equals. And if you look at this flap, it's the value of the equation, another value from the equation. It's the independent variable. In the ordered pair, it's the first value in the ordered pair. And along the line, again, it changes. So the X will change, and the Y depends on where you are on the X. The X-axis and the Y-axis that we talked about when we talked about the coordinate plane. The next one is a plus. It also could say subtract, but in the standard equation, we put a plus there, and it says glue this flap down. So I'm going to glue it down. Okay, I am back, and the last flap is the letter B. It will also be a number in a problem, and it represents where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay, remember the y-axis is the axis that goes vertically up and down. On your picture that's given to you as an example, the y-intercept right there on that line is -2. It is where the line crosses over the y-axis. B is called the y-intercept, and there's that definition I just stated, where the graph crosses the y-axis. This foldable is there for you to help you remember what each part of this equation represents, and it's also going to be very important when we look at our problems and lesson and work through some things. So y is the dependent variable, then there will be an equals, and then m is the slope, is a number, the coefficient in front of the x, which is the independent variable. This could be add, but also could be subtract. If b is negative, this will be subtract. If b is positive, it will be plus. And b represents the number the graph crosses the y-axis on. So wherever the graph crosses the y-axis is the letter B. So this is just how you could read if you just had an equation and if it was in this form. Now sometimes it's not exactly in this form, but you always need to remember the slope is the coefficient in front of the x, and the y-intercept is the one that does not have an x on it. And then it will, all the ones we're going to do for this section are going to have y equals. Then it will have it'll have something in front of an x and a number without an x. And these two, they may be switched in order, which you'll see in a moment. But if you will please make that foldable, understand the foldable, and use it to refer back to if you don't understand the equation y equals mx plus b, which is just the slope intercept form. It has the slope and the y-intercept in it of an equation of a line, so that you can be able to tell someone the slope, be able to tell someone the y-intercept, and be able to graph the equation. Thank you.